Oh man. Okay.
Bring up Nyklot though, like
Yeah, there we go. Nyklot, there's a channel called Main Sources, but unfortunately, only Joe can give permission to actually have us put images in there. So we're gonna have to resort to a different kind of. Can
wait,
you live stream
lock
by any
general
chance?
chat, lock general chat, and then just put it in general chat.
Yeah, that's genius. But before I do that, Nyklot, do you have any way to stream your actual screen, or can I go through these slide by slide? Because I don't have access to that channel to give to
No, the
post
only
those.
thing I can just do is this on my camera.
Discord
Okay.
has a share your screen button
Yeah,
next to the camera button.
But then I got to keep switching to server, which is there a way you can just like put it in, as you said, general chat and just lock or actually put it in just a main chat and lock it, or just create it? Can you create a new chat for the time being? Just put that in there and lock.
Let's see
You
if
just
that's
post it
possible.
in any chat. That's totally fine. Like I'm not actually going to read it, so.
Okay. I'm just giving that for people to see in case they want to look at it, so they have a source.
They can just email you or DM you later if they really want to. It's not a huge deal.
I'd rather have that there. So
All right. I'm actually gonna go ahead and put it in a chat called Poetry. Can everybody just make sure that you guys have that available? I'm gonna put it here for TJump. Just tag you guys with the channel.
okay, I don't see a poetry chat.
You don't see a tag that I gave you?
Oh, I gave it. Yeah, I see. I see it.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, so you're gonna put that in there. I'm gonna just use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay.
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
Bathroom mid debate is crazy.
All right, guys. I'll be putting the actual chat itself in the side here if you want to actually take a look at his contents. So Nyklot's content and works will be in this actual channel right here in the side chat.
Okay, cool. Let me see it. Yeah, everything's cool.
All right. Perfect. Ashraf, I'll let you go ahead and begin. And everyone make sure to please also share the debate with everybody.
There's gonna be
We'll go ahead and get
20-minute
started.
statements. I don't know if we decided if Nyklot or TJump's gonna go first.
Doesn't matter.
You want me
Okay,
to
yeah.
go
So
first?
I mean, yeah, TJump can go first. 12 minutes. Whenever you're ready, TJump.
I thought he wanted an 8-minute one. Does he want me to go first or him to go first?
Mine's going to take like 30 seconds. Doesn't matter.
Okay, cool. Then
Oh, yeah, go
you
ahead.
go first.
The topic of the debate is, does consciousness reduce to physical stuff? The answer is that is the only stuff that we know exists. There is no other stuff we have any evidence for that exists whatsoever. So the only rational conclusion is that consciousness reduces to physical stuff. There is an abundance of data in neurology, psychology, cognitive science, philosophy of mind. Every mind-related field all conclude that yes, the mind is physical. There is no other option B. Until you discover a new ontology or have evidence of a new ontology, then the only conclusion is yes, consciousness reduces to the physical. You may go.
Okay, so what I noticed here was not really an argument, just a bunch of assertions without anything backing it up. So for mine, on the other hand, I'm going to have a very strict argument that justifies my position. It's not based on external observation or scientific theorizing. It's grounded in direct reflection. The basic idea is specifically a phenomenological argument that moves by apodictic certainty, eidetic necessity, and a formal a priori structure. So the first premise is consciousness is apodictically certain. And basically what this means is consciousness just gives itself directly. Doesn't need an inference. It appears immediately in reflection. So any act of doubting, any questioning already presupposes consciousness. Consciousness is not something you can get behind. It's the condition for anything to show up at all. Thus, consciousness is apodictically certain. It cannot be coherently denied. That's the starting point. So once you start with consciousness, the next premise is going to be that consciousness necessarily has intentionality. So if consciousness is apodictically certain, then consciousness necessarily has intentionality. And this is known through eidetic variation. So when I perceive a tree, the act is directed towards perceiving the tree. When I imagine unicorn, I am, having my active imagination towards this unicorn. When I remember a birthday party, I'm going to have my active consciousness directed towards this birthday party. So when we understand in any act of consciousness, there's always going to be the structure of I think a thought. And so that aboutness or that directedness of thought is what is called intentionality. And so the next one is consciousness transcends spatial extension. And the structure is if consciousness necessarily has intentionality, then consciousness necessarily transcends spatial extension. So the idea is basically this. If I'm going to understand the act of intentionality and the ego cogito cogitatum structure, the act of intentionality itself is not spatially located, extended anywhere. It is the field by which objects that are spatiotemporal appear in. So when I perceive the tree, sure, the tree is spatiotemporal, but the act of perceiving the tree itself is not. That act of perception is not something that is spatially located. Now, if that's the case, consciousness would be irreducible to physical causality, because if consciousness transcends spatial extension, then consciousness necessarily is irreducible to physical causality, because physical causality depends on spatial extension. Collisions, transmissions, and reactions require spatial proximity and measurable relations. Thus, by its nature, consciousness transcends space. So as you can see here, I have 4 just major points. Consciousness is apodictically certain. It necessarily has intentionality. It necessarily transcends spatial extension. Thus, it's necessarily reducible to physical causality. As you can see, what I've posted as well, it is valid. Everything follows a modus ponens type structure. And I have terms defined as well that explains things. So I'm going to structure this debate in, I've actually presented an argument. TJump hasn't. And I'm going to keep looping back to my argument, my premises. So I'm going to ask him, which specific premise do you deny in that? Do you deny consciousness is apodictically certain? The intentional structure of consciousness, that intentionality transcends spatial extension, or it's irreducible to physical causality? So if we could, we can do that. I am done. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
All right,
8-minute
so-
rebuttal, 8 minutes each.
So we can skip all that and just do open conversation. So his main argument, the only thing that was coherent, most of it was just complete gibberish and a waste of time, was that intentionality is not spatio-temporal. It doesn't exist in space or time. If it doesn't exist in space or time, it doesn't exist. Like all neurologists, cognitive scientists, philosophy minds agree intentionality exists in space and time. It's pretty much a fact. We know where it is in the brain. We can shut it on and shut it off with damaging parts of your brain. There's no part of that that is in any way coherent that he thinks that it's not spatio-temporal. It's just kind of a dumb argument. So if that's all he's got, then refuted, game over, your argument is done. But that was the only argument I heard that had any value to it. Next.
Okay, I didn't see any argument in his point. It's just basically a bunch of assertions. So if you're telling me the only thing that exists is physical, do you have an actual argument for that? Because my argument shows that that's not the case. First of all, I'm going to ask you, how do you understand physical? So for me, on the other hand, given my phenomenological starting point, I'm going to understand physical, which is that under space, time, and causation. So when my consciousness experiences reality, and it's going to experience things as being spatially extended, having temporal duration, and there's going to be causal properties. So this is a conceptual schema that I operate under to understand what's physical. So could you please tell me how you understand physical? Give me a strict conceptual analysis as I've done as well. So what is physical to you?
Matter and energy.
Okay, so is matter spatially extended?
Yep.
Okay, is energy spatially extended as well?
Most of it.
Okay, so this being the case, if you look at my argument, the whole idea is consciousness has intentionality to it. The intentional structure transcends spatial extension. You haven't actually dealt with that. Could you please deal with my
I
point as far
literally
as the
did.
intentional structure?
That was literally the one thing I did address, and it doesn't seem like you are intellectually capable of understanding words very well, so I'll say it again.
Okay, do you understand what intentionality
Your
is?
only argument was that intentionality is not spatiotemporal. That was the very beginning of my rebuttal. And then I said, there is no evidence of this. This is something you've made up. You've pulled it out of your ass.
Okay.
No evidence of this.
Okay, so
And then I went on to say,
hold on.
all
You're being,
fields-
please be a little
I'm
bit
not
more
done yet.
polite.
I'm not done yet. In all
Nyklot,
fields
please let him finish.
related to the brain, neurology, psychology, philosophy of mind, cognitive science, every single one of these fields concludes that intentionality is a part of the brain that we can damage and destroy and control and manipulate, such as Phineas Gage, who had the rod shot through his brain and lost the ability to do impulse control and intentionality. There is no evidence that it has no spatiotemporal magic qualities. In order to provide evidence, you would need to show there isn't another kind of ontology outside of physical reality, which you haven't done. You just said, oh, it can't be physical. Ooh, not evidence. You would need to provide this new ontology and then provide novel testable predictions this new ontology makes, and then show intentionality is somehow tied to this new ontology. None of this have you provided. All you did is say intentionality is outside of space-time, like magic leprechauns.
That's not what I said.
Okay. Pretty much exactly what you said.
No, you're caricaturing my argument. First of all, to even have testable predictions, you would understand you need to have a consciousness that perceives reality, correct?
Yes, I agree.
Okay,
Well,
great.
not really.
So-
well, no, but sort of.
Okay,
It
so
doesn't-
yes or no,
granted,
do you need a
disagree.
consciousness? Do you need a consciousness to perceive reality, to even have science in the first place? Do you need a human
No.
observer that has a conscious agent?
No,
that,
that's just
okay,
stupid.
so you're telling me that someone can have knowledge without having consciousness?
We have computers that can do tests and do science on their own with no consciousness. That's a thing. We've already discovered
No,
that. It's not
does a
really
person
relevant.
have to know the computer and has to perceive the computer and be aware of
No.
it? So you're
No.
basically saying that you can have
What does this have to do
knowledge.
with the argument?
It has to do with the argument because the starting point for me is consciousness. So do you, okay, and here's why the
Things can exist
hypocrisy.
without
Hold on,
consciousness.
I didn't interrupt you. Stop. So the idea is this: even you in your debate with Godless Girl, when asked what your starting point was,
That has
you
nothing
said,
to do with this.
no, it does.
topic.
It's relevant because you said, I think, therefore I am. So you were starting with consciousness as an absolute certainty of knowledge. Were you doing that? Yes or no?
Let's go back to the topic now. So
Okay, no, we are going to go.
brought up-
So are you
no,
going to
we're
deny
not going to talk
consciousness?
about
Are you going to deny
another
consciousness?
debate.
Because it shows you're
Oh,
inconsistent.
stop
It just
talking.
shows you're
Stop
throwing shit
talking.
out there and
Stop
not dealing with
talking.
anything.
Stop talking.
I'm saying,
Stop talking.
do you deny consciousness as a starting
talking.
point of knowledge?
Stop
Yes or no?
Talking. So the argument I
Okay,
said.
I'm not
is
going to let you
you-
frame control this stuff. Do you deny consciousness?
I've muted you on
as a
my end.
starting
I can
point
no
of knowledge?
longer hear what you're saying. You have
I don't
been
know why.
muted.
Okay, so
now
I'm going
my
to say
audience
this
can hear
guy.
what I'm saying.
Okay, I
No one
can
can hear
make.
what you're
Okay,
saying.
you can
Oh.
do this.
The
I mean,
argument that
what is the point of
Nyklot
me
made was
having
that
this? Okay,
that
he's going to do this stuff.
intentionality
I
is
don't.
outside
What's the
of
point of this?
space-time.
People are going to
This
kind of
is
record
just
this. That's
inanely
not what
stupid.
I'm saying.
Now I said
I'm going to
provide
keep
evidence of this.
talking. He's gonna.
All he's
Okay,
done is try
he
to,
hasn't dealt with my argument at all.
bring up
I'm
other
going to
debates
tell you
and
this.
topics about
He
consciousness.
hasn't dealt with
what
my
is the
argument at all.
evidence
Okay,
that
why am I bothering dealing with
intentionality
this?
is
I'm just going
outside
to
of
keep talking
space-time?
over you, TJump. You can mute me on your end.
All right, you're unmuted.
Okay. Yeah, look, you can be a coward in this. Which specific premise do you disagree with? 1, 2, 3,
Okay,
or
I
4.
muted
Tell
you
me.
again. I'm going to mute you
Okay,
anytime you answer my
no, I
question.
don't.
I
I
really care
have an
about the answer
argument.
to
Why
my
aren't you
question.
dealing with my argument?
What is your
Obviously, my
evidence
argument.
that
Okay, I'm going to mute him.
intentionality is
Okay,
outside
I'm
of
going to turn him
space-time?
down.
Go ahead.
Okay, can moderators control this? If this is a crossfire, is this just going to be TJump engaging in a monologue? Or is he going to actually, basically, I have
I'm
to answer
asking
his
you a question
questions
and I'm waiting
he
for
doesn't
the
answer
answer. Come on,
mine.
go.
I've specifically said this here. I have an argument.
Last chance.
He has not
Last chance.
refuted any premise. The premise has been
5,
hit by the threshold of sufficiency
4,
through eidetic
3,
necessity. Every single
2.
premise is either apodictically certain or a form. Okay, the coward leaves. Can we get this? He has not dealt at all with my. Can anybody see this? He basically goes off into some sort of, kind of talking points. I presented an argument. In this specific argument, I gave 4 premises and a conclusion. I showed how the logic is valid, and I've justified each premise as eidetically necessary. And then he did not deal with any specific premise at all. Did anybody go in here? Did TJump deal with any premise of mine? Yes, or can people say, no, he didn't? Did anybody hear TJump deal with any premise or just go on his talking points about neuroscience, blah, 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 some sort of shotgunning, gish galloping crap? Can someone bring this up? Does someone else want to take this? I hope, who here is recording this? Yazan, are you recording this? I'd like this to be recorded so I can sit there and I can present my argument. He can actually come back and deal with my argument, but he refuses to deal with my argument. Who here is just, anybody recording this? Can someone be brought up here who might be recording this? Bring up Philosophy King or someone else. Can someone bring someone up? Hello? Okay, who's moderating this is doing a terrible job. Get up here so we can actually bring people up. Why am I going to be talking? I mean, are we going to have to go to another server? This is a really terrible job of moderating. I don't know. Do we want to go to another one? I mean, this was, yeah, I mean, look, I don't know who did this. I don't know if Joester's there or someone wants to have this. We can go into a room here and we can discuss this and we can have this. I don't know who's recording this. You're recording. Cool. Do we want to go into a room here and I can talk and people can comment? Because I just don't want to engage in a monologue here. I want to proceed to go to this. Can we go? Can we go to this? Can we go? We're going to go here. I'm going to open up a room and I want to go to discussion. We're going to go to discussion. Everyone go to discussion. Did anybody, I presented an argument. He didn't present an argument. He just had talking points.
Nyklot, you won, Nyklot, far and away.
Yo, Nyklot,
I mean, here's the argument. The argument was very specific. He didn't deal with any premise. He basically just did his whole neuroscience, blah, 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 blah. In my argument, it's very specific. It's valid. You can see the logical chain. If